Yes, we are recording. Okay.
Good.
Yes.
So, I mean, John, you don't really need any introduction. You're world famous guitarist, considered by many to be the best in the world, certainly within the top 10. So that's an incredible achievement. And through Corey, sort of coming across your address and stuff, I thought maybe we could just talk a little bit about how the collaboration came about for people who are not fully aware.
When we were working on the packaging for Nebula, we talked about the story there, and I mentioned it in the blurb that we used in the packaging. But it's true that I think, the best kind of collaborations are the ones that really happen organically. That's how all of my musical equipment endorsement, successful collaborations have happened, where you're passionate about something, whether it's music, guitar, or men's grooming products, or your beard, or whatever it is, that you're passionate about. So that causes you to kind of like explore that world, and you stumble upon things that, you like, that you really enjoy. And you become a customer, you become a regular user of that item or product. And so if something grows out of that, like it did with us, then there's this real genuine, like
organic,
that you're doing this. It's not forced. It's not like, oh, maybe something like this will work. It's like, no, it'll work because I love this product. And that's how it happened. A while back, my wife, she bought me as a gift some Captain Fawcett products, and I just really, really loved them. I just loved the quality, the scents, the packaging, and everything. I also saw a video when I started getting into the whole expanding my bearded look. I remember seeing a video of Ricky Hall.
Oh yeah.
And, I was like, that guy has a killer look. It's like badass gentleman.
Yeah.
And he said in the thing that he uses Captain Fawcett. I'm like, oh, this really makes sense. So I started ordering some more products, and I have a lot of your products, prior to us even talking. So again, I'm a big fan and a big customer, and really enjoy everything you do. And somewhere along the way, because there's email correspondence with orders, you guys reached out that somebody on your team was a guitar player and a Dream Theater fan, recognized my name, and then we just started this connection. I mean, it was really just like I forgot what the first thing that we did.
I think what happened was, I think Corey, because Corey, he does a lot of things here. He's really the left-hand man. He does a lot of stuff for Captain Fawcett HQ, an invaluable friend and employee, and he hoovers up everything. And he happened to notice a letter with your address on. He said, if that's who I think it is. So that's how we came to drop you an email. And as you know, we then got a couple of tickets for Corey to see you at the Apollo. And then you very kindly, he didn't know about the backstage thing till the very last minute. That was a surprise, cool. And a thank you from us. And then he went backstage, and he came in really excited on Monday morning to, talking about his weekend experience. And he said, hey, and on top of that, John's really interested in creating a beard oil with us. I said, okay, Corey, you had a great weekend. Just chill out, man. It's all cool. Don't worry, because, he's obviously extremely excited and had a wonderful evening. Anyway, but then 2 days later, we did get an email through you from via Jenna, and that's where it all really came from. So that was fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
We definitely owe a lot to Corey for this connection.
Yeah.
And even before the show and meeting him, we did some things together. You guys were kind enough to share some of my social media posts, and it kind of just started slowly like that.
Yeah.
There was a World Beard Day thing that you had asked me to participate in, and again, you're so kind to send me like care packages and shirts and things. And it just sort of started slowly. So it culminated with finally meeting Corey, and I just put it out there. I was thinking, hey, if you ever wanted to do a signature beard oil, I have a lot of great ideas and thoughts, and I also started thinking about my community you associated the bearded community with certain industries, whether it's the brewing and distilleries or motorcycles, but how about musicians and guitar players? And I'm thinking about like all the bearded musicians there are in the world, and how come nobody did this before? As far as I remember, why was never like a connection? So anyway,
it's a completely different demographic, and it's really brilliant. And as you say, there's the crossover with the beards, with the biker community, with the rock community. So that's really worked well. In fact, I've been accused, I suppose accused the wrong word, but people have asked me on various planes and things, if I'm involved in rock music, and I have to be honest, I would struggle to play a Jaws harp, frankly, with him.
Well, it's the opposite with me. They ask me if I ride. I don't own a motorcycle.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, we have a few motorbikes here, so I'm sorry. So I thought what might be quite interesting, because we're dealing with mixed audiences here, which is great, So I just thought I might ask you how you became involved in music in the first place, and how you've kind of, well, not that you've arrived, but where you are today, how that came to be, just in a kind of a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, the nutshell is that I started playing guitar when I was 12 years old. I grew up on Long Island in New York, and I fortunately for me that the town that I lived in, I mean, it was a suburb of New York. There were so many musicians and bands, and all my friends were musicians, and we played together all the time. In fact, John Mayung, who is in Dream Theater, is our bass player. I met when we were like 12, and we're still in a band together, all these years later. So that's how I cut my teeth. We just jam, play parties. I was in multiple bands and things like that, and got so into it to the point where I wanted to pursue the career, and convinced somehow my parents at the time to send me to Berklee College of Music in Boston, because some of my heroes went there, like Al Di Meola and Steve Vai, and guys that I looked up to. And so I wanted to follow in their footsteps. And at Berklee, we met our first drummer, Mike Portnoy, there, and that started the band. And that was back in
you just played with him, and didn't he play with you on your Liquid Tension?
He did, yeah. So Mike was a member of Dream Theater for 25 years. We made so many records together and tours and everything. And then he left the band a little over 10 years ago. And I just earlier or over the summer last year released my second solo album. It's called Terminal Velocity.
Yeah.
And that was an opportunity for me to kind of reconnect musically with Mike, who I hadn't played with since he left Dream Theater over 10 years ago. And so Mike played on my album Terminal Velocity, came out last summer. And so we had a great time together, and the album thankfully has been received really positively.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
It's been fun. Yeah.
So that's how you came to be involved in music. Well, I mean, I might tell you how Captain Fawcett came about, if that's of interest.
I was just about to ask you that. You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm just curious how you got into it.
Well, I can only tell you so much before I would incriminate myself. So this would be the slightly edited version. Okay. Well, my history was that I was a bit of a bum, and I ended up going to film school as a mature student, although I was probably one of the least mature students at the college. And I ended up quite quickly working in the film industry in the sound department as a boom operator.
Gotcha.
And for years, I waxed my moustache, and I met my wife, who is a makeup artist, on one particular gig. And she went on to win the Emmy for doing Downton Abbey, and got the BAFTA for Gormenghast. And in fact, designed Kate Blanchett's hair, which got the Oscar for Elizabeth. So she had to get the Oscar. So she's very well established as a makeup artist. And then I used to make my own wax in a teeny weeny little. I'd make a baked bean tin, Phil, something rather like this. This is an original tin here. I'd make it, and I'd put it in a little saucepan, and I'd produce these. Do you remember these 35mm plastic film pots? Yeah, those little films you used to get.
Yeah, of course.
I'd maybe make 6 of these, and they'd last for a year. And as they split or got dirty, I'd throw them away and make some more. And then one day my wife actually said to me, you know what? The stuff we're using at work really isn't particularly good. Maybe I could take some of your product in to work for the girls for their floor bags. and that's how it happened.
Wow.
And now it's on every single movie set in the country, and it's used by some pretty top designers. Peter Swords King, who got the Oscar for The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, loads of facial hair. So it really came about by accident. And then I was in the film industry for about 25 years, and about 10 years ago, I've decided to form this moustache wax hobby in the kitchen into a proper company, and haven't looked back yet.
Wow.
I haven't waved my microphone in anger for many, many years.
Yeah, in anger. I love that story. That's incredible. You know, I mean, again, it's like something, you know, that you were really passionate about and into, and turned it into something much larger than that. So that's incredible.
I did films like Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr. Memphis Belle was one of my great highlights, you know, the old B-17s. Billy Elliot, which is a very low budget British film, which exceeded all kinds of stuff. So a mixed bag. It's a bit like the thing with, if you're creating with music, then, you know, you are totally responsible. But if you're working on a film, you're just one part of the team, and it's the director's responsible for the overall outcome. So sometimes you can be working on a project and it seems like really, really good fun, and this is going to be the next blockbuster, and it just fails.
Right.
Straight to video or DVD or whatever.
Sure.
But there's other things. You're having a really awful time. It's really angst-ridden, and, you know, lots of kind of egos and things, and then it ends up on being on a blockbuster. So you're not really got that much control, because effectively you're a technician.
Right. Exactly. And it's, you know, it's like that with music in many ways too. You know, you do, when our band is on our 15th studio album, you know, we've been Dream Theater has been together for 36 years or something like that.
Oh, it's incredible.
And you know, when you get together and write music, you know, you do what sort of comes naturally, and you build off of the chemistry that you have together as creative people. And you know, you don't know whether the music that you're making is going to be as successful as the last one or the next one or whatever. And it's not really the way you think. But for some reason, certain releases just kind of resonate with people more than others. And, you know, that's just part of how this whole thing goes. You know, like you said, you can put everything into it. It could be an amazing, amazing session, come out, the album does okay. Could be the other thing, you know, wrought with problems and everything, and it becomes something real successful. So it, you know, you can't, art is funny that way. You really, you can control it to a degree, but then you can't.
The more people you get involved in any process, I mean, especially with filmmaking, whether it's to do with budgets or any kind of thing, you can end up with kind of a compromise. And, you know, whereas a total creative is not particularly great on compromise. So again, it's that kind of team thing. But I suppose, I mean, I'm putting words into your mouth here, but I'm supposed if you do something that really satisfies you, then that's the most important thing, isn't it? That's the most important satisfaction. And if other people join you on that journey and get into what you're doing, then that's just a bonus.
I couldn't agree with that more, you know, because I think that, you know, people see through things that are disingenuous, you know, and music and art forms, I feel like it has to come from, you know, your perspective and your soul, and be really genuine. And you know, whether people like it or respond to it or not shouldn't be the first thing on your mind, you know. We all, in everything that we do in these different industries, you know, music, film, bearding, grooming, you know, there is a commercial aspect to it that you care about, you know, and you do want to present your best work, and you want to take all those steps, and it is important to be successful, but not at the expense of the art and everything. Because, you know, if you come out with something that's just, you know, people know you phoned it in, or it's not your best work, or, you know, I just personally never operate that way. I just put 100% into it, and and at the end of the day, I want to feel confident about it and proud of it, and be like, you got to check this out, listen to it. At that point, it leaves me, and it's up to you on how you receive it. But at least I know I put everything into it, put my best foot forward.
It's very important. I suppose it's a bit like coming back to Captain Fawcett HQ, which you've virtually seen. For me, this is very much a film set. It's actually totally, one could consider, I mean, I suppose if you had a hard management kind of, you know, financial kind of, they could say that this is really unnecessary, but it's not unnecessary to me because it's what motivates me. I come in, I'm in character, I'm on set, and it just reinforces what I do. As you'll have seen from some of my emails, I think when we first started writing to each other, you know, you actually said, oh, I think at one point I may need to get a translator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of terminology I was not very much familiar with it.
So we want to just discuss your recent success, as mentioned in Prog magazine, by actually being crowned #1 guitarist in the world. I mean, how does that feel? It sounds a bit cheesy, but how does that feel? I mean, that's some serious accolade, isn't it?
You know, the music community and the guitar community is very close. You know, there's so many guitar players, but there's a lot of communication and there's a lot of camaraderie, and everybody knows what it takes to, you know, achieve any level of success out there. So, you know, these types of things where there are so many incredible guitar players doing amazing things out there, and you're sort of singled out as people, you know, kind of giving you a pat on the back, like, you know, attaboy. Yeah, you like what you did. It's a really humbling feeling, honestly. You know, it's the type of thing where it's like you feel like, you know, thank you for recognizing me in that way. It's a bit of an affirmation, and it's something. Yeah, that's the best way I could describe it. Kind of makes you feel like just humble, because there's so many really incredible musicians and guitar players out there. And again, when the community, you know, of fans and players or whatever, however the polls out there originate, recognize you in some way, that's the best way to describe the feeling that kind of over.
Yeah, especially from when it's within the industry as well.
Yeah.
Double bubble, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's nice. You know, Prog is a UK publication, and Dream Theater is an American band. You know, and Prog, you know, the musical style, you could easily say is owned by the UK bands, and all the ones we were always influenced by, you know, like Yes and Genesis and everything else, and Pink Floyd. So to get that kind of recognition, you know, it for Dream Theater was like a slow development of sort of like, you know, eventually feeling like we belong there, and we're contributing to that larger story of the arc of prog music, where it's been, where it's going. So it's really cool. It's really cool on that level too.
And rightly so. Rightly so. And you said Dream Theater had existed for 39 years, did you say?
Well, I kind of lost count. I don't think it's quite 39, but it's in the mid 30s. It might be 36 or something like that. 37.
Sorry, that's my alarm. I've got a very old-fashioned wall clock here. My office is quite old-fashioned, as indeed am I in some ways.
I love it.
So the mid 30 years since Dream Theater, but then Terminal Velocity, which was released in 2020, is your first solo album for over 15 years. How did that come about? How did that?
Yeah. Well, as you said, I did one 15 years ago called Suspended Animation. And I did that as a result of being asked to join Joe Satriani's G3 tour back in 2001. And when he asked me to do that, I wasn't a solo artist. You know, I was in Dream Theater, but I wasn't a solo artist. So I had to write music to be able to play. G3 is this sort of instrumental guitar music celebration of 3 different guitar players. The first tour was me and Joe and Steve Vai, and there have been countless others. But that's what prompted my first solo album. And then just years and years went by. Been really, really busy with Dream Theater, touring and making records. And I just would always get asked, are you ever going to do a second solo album? When are you going to do one? And it started to become the #1 question I was asked. And 10 years passed, and I started to feel really guilty. And I had been collecting music and you know, really geared up to do it, and I had all these great ideas and things, but could never really find the time. So even before the pandemic hit last March, I had planned, you know what, March, I'm going to start this. It's going to happen. It's going to come out in 2020, no matter what. And then the pandemic hit, and like everybody was shut down, all touring stopped. So I was like, all right, well, I definitely have the time now to do it. There are no excuses.
Ideal opportunity.
Yeah, and from March to May, I got it done, got it written, recorded, and it came out end of August of 2020. And I felt very happy and satisfied that I finally got it done.
And like you said, it's been hugely well received as well.
Yeah, thankfully, yeah.
Okay, and then Liquid Tension Experiment, which I really, really enjoyed, especially the graphics. I like the graphics there because it reminded me, because I'm an old hippie myself. I think I'm maybe a few years older than you. And I do remember we used to have like 35 mil slides with a projector.
Okay.
And we used to get 2 glass squares, as it were. We'd put ink and little things in, and we'd put them together, and you'd put them in the projector.
Yeah.
And as the lamp heated up the stuff, you'd project all that kind of those visuals, which, you know, that kind of hippie kind of glue.
That's very hippie.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw the video that you'd made to go with it, I thought, wow, that just took me right. That took me right back there. You know?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you know, another part of this whole thing is the art side, and I've been working with this artist, Sean Moser Smith. He did my Terminal Velocity cover and artwork, and when we decided to do Liquid Tension Experiment, which was another project which the last one was a long time ago. So Liquid Tension was an instrumental side project that me and our original drummer Mike Portnoy did, and our current keyboard player Jordan Rudis did, and Tony Levin, world famous, unbelievable bass player in King Crimson and countless other things, did. And we did 2 records back in the late 90s, and then haven't done one since. So it's been like 22 years or something. And it was another one of those things like where people would ask all the time, they loved the project, are you ever going to do another Liquid Tension Experiment record? Yeah. And we finally, again, with the pandemic and everybody being off the road, we had the time to do it. But Sean, getting back to the artist, did the artwork for this new LTE3 record. And we wanted it to be vibrant and colorful and kind of just really fun and trippy. And he did that. When you see the packaging, you'll see that. And the video artist, sort of took that and ran with it for the video that you saw for The Passage of Time. That's all that sort of trippy, colorful stuff, and it just fits really well with that instrumental.
Certainly does. Okay, we've got a couple of questions here.
All right.
From some of our Instagram followers. The first question I don't fully understand, but that'll tie in with me only being able to play the Jaws harp and then not particularly well there. One question here from I'm going to at Balas Wenowski. That's his Instagram handle. If I shave completely, will I only be able to play 3 to 4 minute songs in 4x4?
The answer is yes. In order to shred and play prog, you must have a massive beard. Now, it's such a funny thing. It's like the Samson effect, right? You lose. I remember back at the day I didn't always have a full beard like this. I had some sort of form of a beard since I would say mid 90s. I had goatees and different things. And our original drummer, Mike, who we've been talking about, used to say, as the beards get longer, the music gets heavier. And so it was the same thing. Oh, if you shave it all off, the music's going to get light. And
So basically, he's got to keep his beard. That guy. He's
got to keep his beard, but you got to keep it right, and it needs to smell good and look good. So
that really brings me on to the next discussion, really about is your hirsute history. So there we've explained that. And have you ever shaved your beard off since you started to grow it?
I haven't. I mean, not since it's been like a full beard like this. Mm-hmm. I would experiment, like, again, I had kind of shorter goatees at various lengths and things like that. Yeah. And I would shave that off and try again, but that grows back in, a couple of weeks.
So roughly, what is your, your morning routine? I mean, obviously a lot of people are kind of, undercover, not in the limelight so much now. So how do you prepare in the morning, your facial hair? And maybe is it slightly different when you're about to go on stage?
Right. So, again, I think it's important. Yeah, as you know, this is a statement. Not everybody's walking around like us with massive amounts of facial hair coming off. You know, it's definitely something that's when somebody sees you and meets you for the first time, you know, it's a striking look. So for me, I think that means that you have to kind of take it seriously and take care of it. You know, you don't want to look like just somebody who doesn't care. You want to look like you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah,
like this is something that you really enjoy. So I really like, that sort of mentality got me into the hobby side of it, which, exploring different products and scents and ways of grooming. And I really get into sort of, being able to shape and groom yourself and keeping everything neat. So yeah, so my routine just, is based on that, I guess, that concept, making sure the beard is washed and cleaned and trimmed properly, and, using products, obviously, we're speaking, so I use your products. So beard oil is probably the thing I use the most often. And that's an application that I do every day. And it's usually post shower.
Yeah,
is the best time for that.
That's good when your beard's kind of slightly, damp, then you add it in, helps trap that in there. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the balm is really good for control. If it's getting a little out of control and you haven't trimmed it in a while and you need to tame it, the balm is a bit more of a control product. I like your balms because they have just the I don't know what you would call it, not viscosity of it because it's not liquid, but just the feel. It's sort of buttery and has a real smooth feel. It's not like a thick waxy type of thing that you feel like you're putting on your face,
Doesn't feel like there's any great weight to it.
No, exactly.
So it allows a definition, and at the same time will give a certain amount of visual weight because it'll actually slightly thicken the hair and stuff without feeling you've got something smacked on your face which is dragging you.
Exactly. It doesn't feel like that. And so I use that in those instances where I need more control. Now the wax thing, the mustache wax, I don't do mine like yours there. I've experimented with that a bit, but I kind of just got into the more, lazy man's just so I use that to control some of the flyaways, but I haven't done really the shaping.
But sometimes you can just take a little bit of wax, just put a little bit on your upper lip there, just pushing them slightly to the side, and then eventually your moustache, rather than effectively growing down, will actually start to move across. And you don't have to do anything dramatic, but it can be quite nice if you're going for a particular kind of meal, or your partner may complain, if they get a mouthful of hair. So sometimes that will just take that bit off the upper lip, So
absolutely. Absolutely. So what is your routine?
Well, my routine is, I've got, like you, very long hair, and it's very important to look after your hair and beard. So I generally use a beard oil, and I pretty always use a moustache wax. As I said, if I'm not actually dressing, as it were, then I always push it away. So I've got my lips and things. The difficulty at the moment is being able to get anyone to trim your beard.
Yeah, sure.
Even though my wife is literally, as we know, an Emmy award-winning blah 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 hairstylist,
right?
I won't let her get anywhere near my beard.
Right.
She does trim my split ends on a
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think it's important, to be able to learn how to do it yourself, which is good. There could be a learning curve with that, but
you got to be very careful because it's a bit like cutting the corner of the table, isn't it? You cut one leg off and then you do the other leg. Before you know it, you've got a little stool. Because the thing is, our faces aren't symmetrical, and it's the same with our facial hair growth. It's not actually totally symmetrical.
No,
so
it's not.
You got to. There's some bits you'll always get a little bit that doesn't grow so well or stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a question here from Rick Prin 5. And he's asked us, how did one start to compose a signature series scent, and how pleased are you with the results? Well, obviously, I think we can use the collaboration with John here as a perfect example. So we will start with discussing what particular fragrances that the collaborator likes. It's very important, as I said, regarding our art or what our work, in fact, that it really works for us. And then if other people like it, then ultimately that's a bonus. You can't you can't do all things for all men, as it were. You have to
exactly, yeah.
You have to. So we went back and forward with John with various. We had some suggestions from you, and then we worked with our perfumer, and we had a few examples which we sent back, which we then modified. So that's really how a signature series comes about ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. Once we decided to, that we were going to do this in our first meeting, we all sort of had a great meeting via Zoom because of the pandemic. But, just kind of in our first conversations, we talked about a bunch. I think we knew it was going to work from that first conversation, just based on the way that went. But, some things were discussed other than the scent as well, was just the whole sort of collaboration. So, which included the name, the look we were going for, what my sort of persona and personality projects, and in this case, the music and guitar side connection, and in addition to, and very importantly, obviously the scent, and I did make some suggestions on the scent. You guys came back with some really incredible options that I still have in the little bottle and still use, because they're all really cool, but they were coming from different angles, and the one that we ended up with, I just really is my favorite one. You made one tweak on it, but it's just so it's just so deep and sophisticated when you put it on
as well. It's different.
Yeah, very different. Yeah, I don't have anything that smells like that.
And the name Nebula, of course, came from your guitar, effectively, that idea.
It did, and that was interesting too, because we had gone back and forth with a whole bunch of different names, and Nebula wasn't one of them. But we talked about my current Ernie Ball Music Man Majesty at the time. The one I was playing the most the color was called Purple Nebula. And Ian kind of picked up on that. It wasn't one of the suggested names, and he was like, "How about Nebula?" I was like, "Yes."
That ties in as well with the graphics, with that kind of terminal velocity, those beautiful purples, the kind of spacey kind of the whole thing.
Yeah,
and Ian, as you know,
oh man,
he's a very clever. Well, Ian is a one of the Captain Fawcett crew. I started pretty well Captain Fawcett with Ian. And he does all the design. I mean, that's one thing that sets us apart from many other companies, is we do everything in-house. We still make our products in-house. We do all our design in-house. We do all our photography, filmmaking. We do all our own social media. I still respond to large proportions of the emails. So there's a real truth in what we do. So nothing is outsourced.
Yeah.
Ian is fantastic.
He is absolutely fantastic. I love his artistic approach and eye. He's so talented. One of the things that attracted me to your company and your products, that, besides the scents and the actual product, is the presentation. You talked about it a bit before, about being in character, the way that everything is consistent on your site with the packaging, the way the wording is, the look. It's sort of this, you created a world. And like and we try to do that with music too, and live concert events and concept albums and things like that, where you can sort of escape into this world. And it's really important to have it like across the board. And you guys do that so well with all of your packaging and marketing. It's you
enter the realm and enjoy and tell.
I love it.
And then great.
And what I just wanted to tell you what I love about this too, the whole idea. So I love also the way you guys use this sort of like brown look, but then you have accents. So this whole deal with having the pick, the special limited edition signature Jim Dunlop pick, and then and the funny thing is, I had got the Barbarism one from you guys, and I never realized that you can actually take the inside out until you told me about it. So
well, with the Barbarism one, you actually pull a friend of mine, Emerald, you actually pull her foot.
You pull her foot, yeah. So inside, there's the beard oil itself, which again, the bottle is just beautiful. Again, incredible job by you guys with the silver and purple. But then you have this like incredible artwork on the intro.
Yeah.
on the intro, on the inside. So I just think it's brilliant. I love it.
Cool.
That's part of the whole mystique. Love it.